Hello, I am Sofia Stylianou, and the paper I'm going to present is called An Open Source Bio-Based Material System Development for Sustainable Digital Fabrication, which has been developed in the Department of Architecture at the University of Cyprus in collaboration with Dr. Odysseas Kontovourkis and the support of Kyriakides Mushroom Limited Company. The investigation is about the use of mycelium-based materials, which can minimize environmental impact and energy consumption during production, but can also allow alternative sustainable construction approaches to come to the fore. The paper is developed around three basic cores. Firstly, the fungi growth based on Pleurodus striatus mycelium. Secondly, the digital production of custom formworks and material casting for uniform growth and building components creation. And finally, the construction technique investigation based on layering and stabilization of components. The study was initiated to research how mycelium structures could serve the needs of an environmentally conscious approach in protected environments. The general concept of reversibility of design in natural landscapes is vital for the endangered species of fauna and flora in these areas. It's important to understand the production needs of the material and the life cycle that follows, so that future designs can adapt to the process and be optimized. This work attempts to fill this gap by presenting an open-source mycelium-based material system development, discussing at the same time digital fabrication and construction techniques involved towards a comprehensive and sustainable design-to-construction workflow. A quick introduction for those not familiar with what mycelium actually is. We're referring to the vegetative part of the mushroom, which consists of a network of fibers. In nature, these fibers grow above and below the ground, and the mycelia, known as honey fungus, is the greatest living organism on Earth. It is well known how valuable it is looking into nature to follow its examples and material properties in order to use them as potential design drivers of form generation. So the selection and production of material is a result of the natural process of mycelium growth, where it is used as a natural glue to transform agricultural waste into an innovative construction material. Primary property of the material is its biodegradability, which occurs after the exposure to high humidity levels, releasing nutrients to the soil. There are a number of steps needed to develop the material. These include the production of material with pasteurization of substrate and inoculation, then the custom units forming based on an additive process of material growth in a certain period of time and under specific environmental conditions, then the inactivation of mycelium and its transfer to the site for assembly in the form of custom brick units, and finally the end of the material's life cycle that acts as a natural fertilizer on site in an attempt to offer the material back to nature. Mycelium itself is a hydrophobic material. This means that if it was used with no other additional substances, it will have a life cycle of centuries. However, since the substrate is not fully colonized with mycelium and it has direct contact with water, this physical property is invalidated. So when the material absorbs enough amount of humidity, its biodegrading process begins, the bonds holding the substrate together as solid break, and eventually the construction is dissolved. We have conducted some experimentation to see the material being most radically dissolved within the first 3 to 4 hours and then continuing to biodegrade in the following 1 to 2 days with a slower rate. However, the mycelium structures are expected to have a different behavior. Following the suggested structural element dimensions and stacking method analyzed later, the highest percentage of the material is not directly exposed to the humidity and rainfall, so the time to biodegrade will be significantly longer, which actually gives you time to run out of the building in a case of a rainfall. Just an estimation is that the structure would be considered unsafe after 3 to 5 days of heavy rainfall and merge into the environment during winter. Experimentation and prototypes production were conducted by setting up a low-tech installation. The installation included a clean room in order to reduce contamination risks due to the fact that the air is full of impurities. The substrate used for the experiment was straw and sawdust in different quantities. The initial samples consisted only of straw and had greater growth rate. Also, the samples with sawdust needed higher percentage of mycelium. Taking into consideration the production processes needed to produce mycelium and compare it with straw, that is pasteurized agricultural waste, the target is to use the minimum amount of mycelium that provides the product with enough compressive strength. Production of units is achieved through formworks that require the use of materials with low porosity and the control of access of air. This can be achieved either by using small holes evenly distributed or with a filtered opening. The The construction technique was design driven by the Massier-Lumber's material limitations, but also by the advantages provided by parametric design principles, so a variety of systems were produced based on a series of stacking arrangements. The suggested systems were consisted of a double-layer wall for the stabilization of structures due to the highly lightweight nature of the material. The design of typologies includes notches at 3 positions, where supporting wooden elements are added to enhance stabilization and stiffness of the overall structure. Different wall arrangements were conducted, demonstrating the flexibility of the construction system based on the 2 proposed typologies. These arrangements result on various case studies with specific openings. In the design process, the desirable case could be selected for further modification according to the space's function, orientation, and requirements in general. Here is a prototype in 1:2 scale using the suggested stacking logic. The initial experiments and results obtained show great possibilities of their application in the construction industry due to the properties of the specific material and the almost zero impact it has to the environment. Obviously, issues can be discussed, which are related to the physical properties of the material and consequently its application as a structural element in the construction. The results suggest that due to its nature as a lightweight material with reduced compressive strength compared to other materials, it needs to be combined with supporting structures of reinforcement to achieve stability and rigidity. The production of a number of elements required for an 1:1 wall arrangement prototype could highlight any inconsistencies in the material properties and reveal possible gaps in the suggested production and fabrication method. In that case, the reaction to water exposure and specific environmental conditions can be observed and evaluated. Also, more experimentation regarding its application capabilities and measurable results in terms of its ecological footprint can help towards further application and establishment in the construction industry.